Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome to Leapsome's HRIS demo webinar. Thank you all for being on time. We really appreciate it. And we're waiting for a handful of more folks to join, so we'll get started very shortly. In the meanwhile, while you're waiting, feel free to grab some water, get a drink, go to the bathroom. And if you have time, my colleague Sophia will launch a very quick poll just for us to get a sense of, do you know what a HRIS is? Do you have it at your current company? And so if you can just participate in the poll, there's a navigation panel on the bottom of your screen. And there must be a poll that currently asks you this question. We would love to hear your responses while we wait and get started in about a minute or two. Hello, for folks who are just joining in, we're waiting for a couple of more folks. And in the meanwhile, feel free to grab some water and maybe participate in the poll that we have. We would love to know if you currently have a HRIS system at your organization or not. And we will get started very, very shortly. All right, I feel like we're good with getting started. Hello, everyone. My name is Suraj. I'm a Leapsome customer success coach, and I have my wonderful colleague Sophie with me today. I'll be your host for this webinar for our Leapsome HRIS demo webinar. This is a one-to-many format, so unfortunately I cannot see you or hear you, but if you have questions at any point, there's a questions tab on the bottom right corner of your screen where you can ask as many questions as you would like during the session. At the end, we also have an FAQ. During the session, you will have the option to react. So there's a reaction bar at the bottom where you can give your reactions if you feel excitement or confusion. You're happy to hear your feedback there. And anything else before we get started? All right, I think that is all. So let's get started. Welcome to Leapsome's HRIS demo webinar. This webinar will be focused on walking you through some of our latest features and abilities that we have in our Leapsome HRIS. And we would like to start with a very small activity with some polls. So our first poll that would be about your interests is, would you rather have unlimited wellness budget for your employee well-being, or would you rather offer unlimited paid leave with no questions asked? This is a question we ask most of our HR admins, and it's always a variety of responses. Would you prefer well-being or unlimited paid time off? We're going to wait for 15 more seconds to get some responses and see how you feel. All right, I see a couple of no questions. Sorry, Sophie?
Yeah, just one point. We can't see your slides moved along. I didn't know.
Really?
Yeah, I can just still see the intro slide.
Oh, that's weird. Can you see it now?
No, it's still the.
I'm gonna reshare my screen then. Sorry about that, folks. Share my entire screen. All right, can you see my poll now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, amazing. All right, I think we're good with the poll, so we're gonna move forward. I have another poll to ask all of you. Would you rather remove all meetings with voice notes and Slack, or have every meeting include an icebreaker game? I feel like this depends on how much of an introvert versus an extrovert you are. I personally love an icebreaker game. All right, we have 60-30 split, very interesting. We'll give 10 more seconds. All right, and then the last one, which is kind of a cheeky one that I just snuck in here. Would you rather elevate your people's strategy to build a thriving workplace, or would you rather have HR excellence with cutting-edge data and intelligent processes? I know this might not be an either-or situation, but if you really had to choose gun to your head, what would you choose? I personally like the driving HR excellence. Wow, we have a 50-50 split. Very, very interesting. Awesome. Thank you all for humoring me with that really quick activity. Like I said, for anyone who just recently joined, my name is Suraj. I am a customer success coach at Leapsome, and I'll be your demo webinar facilitator today. I have my wonderful colleague, Sophie, who will be doing the back-end magic with the polls and monitoring the questions in the chat, and she'll also jump in if I have any tech issues and things like that. With that, this is what the agenda of our demo webinar looks like. We'll give you some context on why Leapsome built an HRIS in the first place, and some of the cool features around workflows, centralized employee data, absences analytics, and how you can see this in action for yourself at the end. With that, I know many of you are already existing Leapsome customers, so you're probably familiar. Leapsome's mission is to make work fulfilling for everyone, and we try to achieve this through various modules related to employee engagement. As you can see, we have many customers with very strong, good ratings and very highly satisfied customers. And we wanted to extend that even further by looking at how companies use HR processes in their companies. We looked at companies from different industries. And one thing that we keep coming across is that many HR teams still struggle with the basics. And what does basics mean? It means basics like, how many people do you really need to run your HR processes? Does every employee feel valued? And do they have the support they need to do their job effectively? So that's kind of like the common pattern that we've seen working with many HR admins over many years. And with that, we wanted to take our attempt at building a people-first HRIS platform. And what this means essentially is that we wanted to see how we can build an HR tool that grows with you, scales with you, becomes your strategic partner every time you're building your organization and growing your organization. With that, I have one short poll. I would like to ask, I know some of you are already using HRIS in your company. What are some current pain points you face in your HR team? So I've mentioned a few of them. Maybe there's a few other ones that are not so apparent. Whether you use an HRIS or not, what are some pain points that you face in your job every day? Some of the common ones that we've seen were around automations and reporting issues, or scaling pains when you go from a 10-people company to a 70-people company. All right, I see the responses coming in, limited reporting and insights, too many disconnected tools. All of that is absolutely fair, and that's something we've heard oftentimes again and again. And this is why we built our first people-first HRIS. And what is different about our HRIS? Given the experience we have with people engagement and HR processes with other modules we built a tool that's truly people-centric, and we unified all of the data from different parts of your employee experience into one single source of truth, while also combining all of it into one specific platform that becomes the all-in-one source. Some examples of what that looks like is, if you have one place where all of your employee data is located, you don't have to align with 5 different stakeholders. You don't have to chase people to find certain information. Similarly, when you work in HR, we know you have repetitive tasks like onboarding, like offboarding, like recurring surveys. We help you automate all of those things and interconnect them in a way that you can spend time focusing on the strategy rather than the execution and the admin day-to-day. Similarly, because we've been in the HR space for almost a decade now, we can share the best practices with you and show you what your company needs might be and how you can fulfill those needs in the most efficient way through our tool. Similarly, apart from just building things for things that work now, we also want to help future-proof your people strategy. And what that means is when you have a tool that does the job, keeps your employees happy, gives them the resources they need to do their job well, the tool itself becomes part of your employee lifecycle. And that's what we want to do, is leverage the best-in-class people enablement processes wherever it matters for you, and then give you that data to make those strategic decisions for employees. Okay, that's a lot of buzzwords I threw at you. So let's get on to the actual demo. That starts with this whole graph picture. So if you're not aware, or if you're not fully aware, typically what an HRIS does is it brings data from ATS, an applicant tracking system, to bring in data about someone that you've recently hired or has gone through a job interview process. And then there's a lot of data processing that happens about their profile information, about documents they need to sign, and then other things that HRIS also covers are absence management, payroll, time tracking, and communicating with relevant financial authorities. This is all possible within Leapsome, but I think it's much more tangible when you look at this from the perspective of a typical employee. So meet Wendy Worklife. She is a very new recent hire that Leapsome has just hired. Currently, Leapsome does not have an ATS, but we do integrate with all of the best ATS tools on the market so that you can focus on importing that data very swiftly and easily. When Wendy is hired in those profiles, her data is automatically imported into Leapsome. Once she's imported, then begins the process of what you can set up in your company. So I'll show you an example of what that looks like through the module workflow. You as an admin have full control over how many types of tasks you need to do when someone is joining the company, when someone's leaving the company, when someone has changed their bank details and information like that. So workflows gives you limitless opportunities to set up steps that need to be taken by various stakeholders in your organization when certain events happen. So a typical example is for onboarding. Let's say when someone is hired, what would you like to have happened? In that case, you can set up a workflow that says this is relative to someone's start date. Someone should be enrolled in a workflow where certain things must happen. So in this case, relative to some employee start date, we want anyone who meets that start date criteria be enrolled in this workflow. What should happen when they enroll in this workflow? You can then specify steps. Steps are basically tasks that need to be done by specific users. You can set up tasks that says collect their bank data, sign the data privacy, upload proof of ID or passport. Similarly, you can stagger the steps so that all of them don't need to be done immediately, but relative to a certain point. Like if your new employee is starting next month, 30 days before that, these 4 things need to be done. And maybe 14 days before their start date, the IT team has a checklist of things. In terms of possibilities of what you can do for each step, there's limitless possibilities. You can send notification to someone. You can invite someone directly from the workflow. You can set user attributes, like I said, in your profile, update certain information. You can upload a document. You can create a checklist of things that need to be done. And for our technically advanced IT folks, we also have functions for calling a webhook or waiting for a webhook call to integrate with platforms outside of Leapsome. Similarly, we also have really powerful feature where you can create a document for the enrolled user so that you don't have to create that document every time manually. Once you've set the type of step, you can choose how early it should happen, what exactly needs to happen, and then filter by which stakeholder needs to take action during this step. So when someone's onboarding, I would like whoever is onboarding to be able to set their user attributes. But for another example, like for the IT team, I want the IT team to receive a checklist that says order a laptop and then provide the right access to important software. That way I filter by specific team for engineering who's responsible for doing these things. And these things will run automatically based on 14 days before any employee's new start date. So all of this function runs on the back end completely. It might take you a few hours to set this up, but once that's done, everything works automatically, smoothly, and efficiently every time. To get an overview of how people are going through these steps, our handy workflow also has a dashboard. In the dashboard, you can see who has been enrolled in the workflow, how many of them have started, how many of them have completed, and specifically, if you'd like to track metrics like how long does it take for someone to complete a workflow for onboarding, or how many days does it take, you can also get metrics like that. You can easily view each person, what step of the process they're in, what have they completed, what have they not completed, if there's a reason they've been blocked or deactivated, if they've completed a workflow, you have full visibility into seeing the kind of things that we can do. I would like to cover one extra thing, which is really powerful about our Leapsome workflows, is that sometimes you might have to create new documents for users when certain thing changes. Like an example could be, I have an employee who's relocating from Germany to another country. Now I, as an HR admin, need to create a contract with the new location, new start date, all of that. I select a workflow that's about relocation, and the event should be that employee goes to their profile and updates their work location from Berlin to, let's say, Paris. In that case, whenever they change the work location, I get triggered or someone else gets triggered to do certain tasks. Like I, as an admin, get notified that employee has updated their location, do whatever is relevant. I can filter by my specific team, or if you have HRBPs in your company, you can also use the filter for HRBPs. You can then say, here's some checklist of things that need to be done if someone is relocating, and then updating that relocation data into their user profile, either directly by the employee or by admin people responsible for that employee. Like I said, another cool thing is that you can create a document as soon as this changes happen automatically through the platform. So someone's moving to Paris. We have a document template already on the platform, let's say offer letter with date and location. As soon as you select that as a step and set up the right signatories for that process, all of this will happen automatically. So anyone going through the workflow will go through each step, and the documents will be created and attached to their user profile without you having to take any extra step. That is an overview of what our workflows does. To summarize, our workflows have very handy dashboards, which shows you all of the progress of things. It can help with autofilling documents and templates, like first name, team name. You can customize the signatories and the contracts to be as personalized as possible. You can also choose dynamic recipient. So the workflow is not just about messaging you or the person who's being hired, but it might be the manager, it might be the C-level director, it might be the finance team. You can customize all of that, and you don't have to separately coordinate efforts outside of the Leapsome platform. The other powerful thing about workflows is all of the tasks that are pending for every user is easily summarized into a tasks and approval flow in the homepage that users can access easily. All right, that was a lot of information. We covered a lot of things. Do we have any questions so far in the questions regarding what I just shared related to workflows? All right, I don't see any questions yet. I'm going to give 10 more seconds if anything comes up. Thank you so much for the reactions. Really validates my efforts. Awesome. Okay, if more questions come up in the meanwhile or later, we're happy to cover them as well. With that, let's say Wendy has gone through the workflow, she's updated her bank details and her contracts. The next step is for her to create a profile. And for this, I would like to invite my colleague Sophie to take over.
Yes, thank you so much, Suraj, and hi everyone. So I'm going to demo for you how Leapsome handles centralized employee data today. Hopefully you can see my screen. So whether you have an HRIS or not, maybe you've experienced in the past that keeping employee data accurate and secure and also easy to access can be quite a challenge. And of course, on top of that, you want to minimize manual work for yourselves and obviously keep everything running smoothly. So today we're working as Leslie Leapsome. Now she is a super admin, but she's also an employee. So hopefully you get an idea here of how this looks from the employee view as well. So all employee data is going to be centralized in one profile here. So I've gone to her profile and I can see here some key details like her learning paths, meetings, feedback, reviews. So a lot of info easily accessible in one place. And if I hop over to the info tab, I can easily see that the employee attributes are organized here into sections. So think things like address or maybe salary and things like that. It's nice and decluttered. And if I click into one section, then I actually get sent to the attributes on the right-hand side. Now, through the self-service functionality of Leapsome, employees can update their own personal information. So if I move house, for example, I can update my address and this can be sent forward to HR to approve that I entered it correctly. So this actually avoids the need to email HR. It avoids any back and forth. I'm just going to switch the light back on in this booth. Okay, good. So yeah, it saves you a lot of time. And for admins like Leslie can actually also update most employee attributes. So let's, for example, go to Wendy's profile. And let's say I want to update something for Wendy. Maybe it's her compensation. And what's really handy here is Leslie can go in and edit any of these fields and she can make a change. Oops. Let's say this, and apply the changes either immediately or with this handy scheduled changes feature. So let's say that Wendy's salary is changing from the 1st of June. I can schedule that and Leapsome will take care of the rest. Now you might be thinking, well, wait a second, we don't want employees necessarily to be able to edit all of their attributes, right? We want to limit who can maybe update things like salary, for example. And this is where data privacy comes in with Leapsome. And we have built some custom access roles for this. So you'll find it in settings and access roles. And these allow you to decide exactly who can view or edit each attribute or each field based on their role. Here's a list of access roles that we have. We already have default ones in there like super admin or admin, but other examples might be a finance team member that has access to certain salary fields. Or the other day I worked with a customer who added a learning and development team member that had access to edit the custom fields for trainings that employees had completed. And then we can customize each attribute and section by going to this profile fields and access section. And this kind of looks like a back end of what we just saw from the info. And we can take any particular attribute, edit this, and we can see here from our list of access roles, we can choose who has read access and who has write access to this specific attribute. And why is this great? Well, it protects sensitive information while also giving employees the autonomy to actually manage their own basic details when it's appropriate. Now, we know that every company is different as well, so you can actually create as many new attributes and as many new profile sections as you need. So maybe you want to store t-shirt sizes for your team branded clothes, so you would simply add a new attribute in here. Maybe we want to call it t-shirt size. And yeah, we can choose exactly who should be able to edit this. Maybe it's the employee themselves, and who should be able to write it as well. So we can really save everything. It's going to all be GDPR compliant as well. So anything, all your data from salaries to t-shirt sizes is going to be secure here. Now, you can also update particular user attributes in bulk as well. So we're going to go to the company list, the employee list, and to update one in bulk, we would just select the employees in question, update the attribute here, and then we can choose which attribute it is that we want to update. Maybe it's this one, and set it for everybody. So ultimately with Leapsome, we have a really streamlined self-service system that can cut down your HR workload, improve data accuracy, and it's user-friendly enough to still empower your employees to manage their own data when it's needed. And back to you, Suraj.
Amazing. Thank you very much. I'll go back to my screen. All right, Wendy is back. When Wendy has created her profile, the next step for Wendy would be naturally to request a holiday. So Wendy has now joined Leapsome. She wants to request a holiday and go off somewhere. What does that process look like for a normal employee, for a manager, and for the admin? So we will go over first the normal employee perspective. Here's Wendy here. Whenever Wendy wants to request a holiday, there's multiple ways to do that. The first one is she can just click on create and request an action from the top. There's also an option to do that from her profile, But if she wishes, she can also go to the absence calendar and request a holiday from here. So let's say Wendy wants to take 3 days off next week. She can just select the relevant dates. And when she does, there's a couple of options that's available to her. She can choose what kind of absence she wants. So there can be educational absences, sick leaves, or paid vacation, among other things. I'm going to choose paid vacation for now. And then it will already show you how many effective days Wendy is requesting. So if Wendy had, let's say, 3 working days per week, it would show you how much days she actually requested by calculating effective days versus actually requested days. The other thing that Leapsome already shows is the remaining balance. So your employees who are based on certain location might have certain allotted balances. So in this case, Wendy probably had 30 days. Out of 30 days, when she requests this, she has 7 days remaining, and she still has some balances to go for. She can make some comments, and she can just click on Save. When she has submitted it, the request looks like this. It's a little bit grayed out, and that shows that this absence request is now going through an approval flow that you set up as an admin on the back end. So right now, Wendy can see, okay, my manager needs to approve this absence for me, and that's all Wendy needs to do. From the other side, what does that look like for Jolly or Leslie or any other manager? Whenever they have an approval process, there will be an approval tab where it says vacation paid has been requested by a certain employee. They can click on it and then see the actual absence that was requested. And the other handy thing about Leapsome is it already shows you other team members who might be off during this time. So you as a manager have full control over looking at which of your teammates are off. Is the team with limited bandwidth, or can I approve this holiday? If you can approve it, you simply click on approve. If you don't like it, you can reject it. Or you can also edit and say, actually, don't take all 4 days, maybe take just 2 days. If it's not relevant anymore, you have the ability to delete it as well. This is the manager view, but it would look the similar way for an admin as well. In case a manager is off on vacation and their direct reports requests a vacation, a super admin can jump in and request those things. The other cool thing about Leapsome, at least for the employees and managers, is we also highlight relevant holidays that are affecting the teammates in your team. So in this case, Leslie maybe works in Germany, or at least has colleagues working in Germany. And if there is a holiday that's on a working day, it's highlighted already, and it shows you who would be off during those days because they're based on that location. This gives you a very handy visualized way to see how your team is off, at what point they're off, and any other relevant factors. So that's what it looks like for a normal employee and for a manager. Some other cool things is we already have predefined filters to see certain views for your direct reports, for your managers, or for your specific teams and peers as well. That means at any point, if you're curious when Simon will be off, you can simply go to the calendar and look at it. The visibility of what you can see, what time they're off, what they're off for, that is something you can fully customize as well, that I will go over now. The way it works from the back end side of how this works is you set up policies for each type of absence that you think might be relevant. So currently we have educational leave, parental leave, remote work leave, vacation paid and unpaid. And then we generally recommend having these policies by location, as local regulations vary by geographic location. But if you have certain needs that are not geography based, you can also create as many policies as you would like. The way to create a policy is going to settings and absences. When you create a policy, you can then see what the policy looks like. So let's say for remote working from Germany, you can set up the basics like activity type, whether it's a working day or not, whether certificates or any kind of documentation is required. You can choose the calendar color to show a specific absence in a specific way. If you'd like someone to be able to request half-day offs, you can select that. And then you can customize the visibility of who sees what exactly. So if let's say Wendy has requested an absence, who can see that Wendy is absent? The employee, super admin, and everyone. Who can see the type of absence? Everyone can see the type of absence based on this current setting. However, who can view, create, and edit the absence? Only the manager and the super admin and the employee. when this is relevant is if you want someone to know that your teammate is off for a sick leave but not know what kind of sick leave, then this kind of customized granular visibility makes more sense for you. Similarly, you can choose entitlements, how many balances they're supposed to receive for this policy for a specific year. As you can see, Leapsome is powerful enough to already know the local regulation that applies in your geography. Currently, it's only available for Germany, but we're expanding this to be other locations as well. So when you're setting up these policies, in case you set up a policy that may not be legally compliant, the platform will already flag it to you as a tooltip and say, actually, you should probably not do that, or do that in a different way that meets those requirements. Similarly, if you have proration, you can set up that. If you have carryover, you can set that up. And if you have tenure adjustments, like there's an additional 5 days of remote work, if you've been in the company for 5 years, you can set those up in the policy as well. Once you're happy with all of the policies, you can simply assign them by clicking on Show Assign Users. And then if you want to assign those policies to your employees, simply go to Companies, go to the employees, similar to how you update the attributes. You can select the employee that's relevant for, and then assign a specific policy like so. And when you select the policy, you can also select when it would be taking effect. It would be hire date, accrual year, next year. Similarly, one other way to also assign policies is based on location. Similar to what I said, everyone who has an absence policy, let's say for vacation paid for Germany, means if an employee is in Germany, it's kind of implied that they would have the vacation policy for Germany. In that case, what we recommend is you set up a work location that's specific to specific geographies. And whenever a user is assigned to that geography, certain information is already assigned to their profile. So an example here is any employee for Leapsome who's based in Berlin, they should probably have their profile be in the euro currency. The holiday calendar that they get should be based in Germany, Berlin. Their work schedule should be 40 hours. Their vacation page should be based on the German policy we set up, and things like that. So this is how you would set up policies in Leapsome, such that once everything is set up, when a user meets a certain criteria like Berlin, all of the other relevant factors are already imported into the system and already doing the calculations for payroll, for absences, and it just works smoothly by itself. The other thing that we didn't talk about, but is also helpful, is you can set up a work schedule to kind of get a sense of how many hours an employee is expected to work. That later feeds into the calculations for your payroll. So a typical work schedule might be 40 hours, but maybe you have some employees that work on specific days or work only specific hours. In that case, you can create specific work policies, and then the platform will automatically calculate out of that how many paid time off they took, how many sick leave they took, in order to calculate how much they should be paid at the end of the month. All right, with that, one last thing that's relevant for absences is the holiday calendar. Similar to what I said, that every location would have a specific policy for absences, specific policy for holiday calendar. You can create as many holiday calendars as you would like. And Leapsome platform is smart enough to already import public holidays available on the internet and use that information to create calendars in your company. So an example here is I've created a holiday calendar for Berlin. I can look up a Berlin-specific public holiday calendar and then say, okay, all of these holidays are relevant for me. If I think, let's say, for example, my company does not want to observe Feiertag, which is May 1st, I can disable it such that when people take time off on this day, it's not considered a public holiday, but maybe a paid vacation day. So you can customize which holidays you should consider. If at any point you have additional holidays outside of the holidays we've imported, you can also set up custom holidays like, I don't know, annual barbecue, company barbecue day, or offsite days of certain days. You can create those custom holidays, whether they're recurring or one time, which day and which month it should be. If there's a specific time these holidays are valid for and should expire later, you can set that. And then you can also set the duration to be full day or half day. That's how you save calendars in Leapsome. Once a calendar is set up, that would be attached to a certain location. When a user is assigned that location, they get automatically assigned the calendar. All right, let me quickly check if I covered all of the topics related to absences. So what we covered was, as a normal employee, how do you request data? or absences data. As a manager or as an admin, how do you approve those data? What does the approval process look like? And for you as an admin on the back end, how do you set up these policies? How do you set up these work locations and the holiday calendars? All of this customizability and in-app regulatory features are super useful for you to save time, make sure you're legally compliant, and also make it easy for all of your team to know who's off at what point and do your planning accordingly. All right, do we have any questions based on what I just shared for absence? Okay, I see a bunch of questions, which is wonderful. I see one has also been voted up, so I'm going to try to answer them in order. Do the policies allow for negative balance? Yes, they do. When you set up absence policies, I believe you can set how much more one can go above or below the balance. Let's quickly check vacation, basics, I believe. Yeah, we have a feature that says block employees from exceeding entitlement. So if you don't want someone to exceed their balance, you can block them. If you allow them, they might go a little bit over. I think there's already a feature request to also choose how much more they can go over in case you have a certain buffer of like they can go 5 days over, but not more. So we'll continue to expand that. I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, please feel free to start a new question. And then I have another question about, can currencies also differ for one location? So could I have general rule of euro, but allow exceptions? Yes, absolutely. So you can create policies for Berlin euro, and then maybe if you want another currency, have Berlin, I cannot think of another currency. Rupees, another currency, and you can set that up individually and say this employee, even though they're based in Berlin location, should have the currency of rupees. So you can customize it fully. You might have to double check that. Just because they have Berlin does not mean they should get euros, but once the proper setup has been set up, it should work automatically. I have another question. Can a single policy have different employees have different numbers of vacation days off within the same geographic location? Interesting question. As you can see from the entitlement page, you can give like a big annual entitlement. You can choose the granting rhythm of when does it start and how much of it is given every month. In terms of having different numbers, I think you might have to create different policies with different balances. So for one type of policy, you might only be able to give 30. And if someone is not supposed to have 30 for any reason, unfortunately, that's a limitation of the platform. All right, I think I answered all of your questions. So I'm going to mark them as done. If they're not clear, or if I can clarify something else, feel free to ask again and we'll cover it very soon. All right, with that, I think we're almost at the last stage of our presentation, which is, well, actually, I jumped ahead a little bit. Some other things you can do with Leapsome is you can track time. This is not something we will cover in the demo webinar, but just know that with the Leapsome tool, you can track how many hours employees worked, how many times people were taking breaks. And if you specifically have employees working hourly instead of weekly or monthly, then this tool becomes extremely relevant for you to track payroll. Similarly, other things we do, especially relevant for our customers in Germany, is we integrate directly with Dativ, which is the tool platform that communicates with the financial authorities to submit every employee's payroll information and identify their tax class, and then return that information back to you for payment. All of that will happen immediately via the platform. We will, again, not go over in detail too much, but just know that this is possible, and I know this is very highly requested among our German customers. With that, we're at the final stage, and I would like my colleague Sophie to take over for the analytics section.
Yes, thank you again, Siraj. I'm going to share with you some really cool analytics in Leapsome to do with your people and HRIS data. So Leapsome analytics give HR leaders clear, tailored insights through customizable dashboards like these ones. And we have really advanced filters, so it's really ideal for tracking trends. Suraj, do you mind just muting yourself?
Oh, yes, sorry.
Yeah, then I can just hear you. That's okay. So this is one area I think where Leapsome really shines, and it's a solution to some of the challenges of more basic or rigid reporting. So in your analytics section in your main menu, you'll find we have analytics across all modules. But I'm going to focus on highlighting how easy it is here to build your own dashboard. So let's have a look at this growth one. This is ready-made, but you can build it from scratch. Now, dashboards are essentially custom reports that you can build based on the metrics that you care about most. So it might be things like how many people have joined the company, how many people have left the company, how many managers you have, what's your headcount by location, things like that. And you can bring all of it together into one dashboard, really neatly visualized, summarized, and super easy to share with whoever needs to see it. Now, how do we do that? How do we share it? Well, if we go to actions and edit this dashboard, we can give it a description, first of all, in case we need to give more information on what the dashboard is. And then we can set some visibility groups. So maybe we want to give everybody basic access, or maybe we just want to give specific users like our management team specific access to this. So maybe we want to give managers access as a more detailed version. So this can be really flexible, even deciding which data they should see, whether it should be for their own team or whether they should see all data. So it's super flexible depending on who needs what. Now, why is this useful? Well, if you're tracking things like DEI goals, for example, you might want to look at age or gender diversity, maybe salary distribution. Let's have a look at this one on demographics, or nationality data, and it can be all pulled from this profile information in your HRIS. So this is all right at your fingertips to share in board meetings, to share with your leadership whenever you need. Now, as for these lovely visualizations, these are actually totally up to you. So what you can do is edit each individual report, and we can show it as a table, as a bar chart, or even a line graph, and also a pie chart in some cases. And we can actually split the data by something else that we want to look at. So let's say we want to look at average salary against age group, for example. We can split it by age, we can split it by gender, by location. So yeah, it's really, really what works best for you, depending on the story that you want to tell with this. Now, something else that's really cool is you can filter the whole dashboard by really advanced filters, things like time frame, life cycle status, particular teams that you want to dive into. So for example, or even things like contract type, okay? So you could compare full-time versus part-time employees, or see how a particular team is growing in just a few clicks using these filters. So this level of filtering and customization gives you real control over your people data, what you're seeing, when you're seeing it, and who is seeing it as well. So it's perfect for team leads, HR strategy planning, and of course for C-level or board meeting reporting. Everything is clean, clear, and in one place for you. And I just showed you two examples of dashboards that you can already see in your platform, but soon we'll also be able to put together cross-module insights. So things like employee performance that comes from the reviews module, turnover rates, absenteeism or engagement into one dashboard. So we're really, really going to expand this, accessible for leveraging the benefit of this all-in-one HRIS and people enablement system together. So yeah, that was reporting. Back to you, Suraj.
Thank you so much, Sophie. And with that, we're almost at the end of our presentation. So as we covered all of our features, and some of the things that we would like to summarize is the return on investment for Leapsome. So with our flexible AI-powered platform, it interconnects all of your HR processes, reduces the administrative burden on yourself, and also you'll be able to deliver a superior employee experience through our friendly people-first interface. Beyond just the HRIS capabilities, you can also make better people decisions, unified insights across your entire employee lifecycle. And as you grow, Leapsome HRIS scales with you, offering a comprehensive solution that not just drives HR excellence, but also elevates your people strategy. Now with that, we have a very cute little quote from one of our very new early customers, Bob W., where they shared how HRIS was unique and helpful to them. and we're hoping that the same will be applicable to you as well. And so for a limited time, we are offering, for our early spring offer, we are offering our Leapsome HRIS at the price of 3.5 USD or 3.5 euro per user per month, out of the list price of 7 euro or USD per month. So we're offering it at 50% off. On top of that, we have some additional benefits if you sign up today, which today or in the next few months, is that we have a dedicated onboarding manager to ensure all of your information from previous systems are properly imported. Our product team is offering white glove support. So they will get on calls with you. They will monitor the support channel for HRIS questions. And then you also get a dedicated customer success manager for the first 6 months of your subscription. And the reason we've tried to make this as attractive as it is because we think HR tools can really benefit our HR admins. And the system is set up in a way that the logic is that you pay per license. There are no license brackets or flat rates. It's completely flexible to the amount of usage you have. And one extra thing that we're offering right now is if you currently already, I know some of you do, if you already have an HRIS in place, we would be happy to give free access to our HRIS until your HRIS contract runs out. This is technically valid until December 2025. So if you were considering switching to a new tool but weren't sure, we would be happy to give you free access to make sure your transition is as smooth as possible. All right, with that, we are almost final at the end of the section. If you have any remaining questions, I would be happy to stay back and answer them, show you some of the platform. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining this webinar. Thank you for your reaction and your participation in the poll and for the very detailed, thorough questions that you asked. If you would like more details, we will send a follow-up email with the recording of this session and the offers that we mentioned. So you will get that email shortly after this webinar. And if not, I wish you all a wonderful rest of the week and a wonderful weekend ahead. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, I see one question about how to learn about the payroll area. Teresa, I think the best way might be to just book a demo already. I believe you can see the link from on the bottom left corner of your screen. If you could just go ahead and book a slot, we would be happy to show you that feature in more detail.
I think as well, if you have a CSM, Teresa, you could also reach out to them directly. I'm sure they'd be able to help you.
That's also true. Amazing. Thank you all for participating. If no more questions, we will slowly start to wrap up. Let's see, 30 more seconds. All right, I think we're good. We can end this event.